All right, another mom life pep talk. I don't know. I'm just having so much fun doing these that this has just been a blast. But I want to offer some thoughts up to you about having conversations with your husband. Maybe they're tough conversations. My husband and I have had a lot of conversations, both hard, fun, light, like all of it. And the toughest ones are probably the ones that I remember the most because that's when we were both able to like speak our truth. And so what I want to say is at the beginning of our marriage, we were babies, right? I got pregnant at 18. I had her when I was 19. He was 19. We're only a month apart. And we were still trying to figure out life. We were still trying to figure out who we are as a person. And when I found personal development, when I, like you, drew that line in the sand and I said, no more living life this way, I'm ready to change. I'm done being overwhelmed. I'm done living paycheck to paycheck. How can I become that next person that I need to become? Or what do I need to do to get myself out of this? When I finally took that power back and stopped falling victim to my circumstance, a lot of things came up for both of us. And some of the conversations that we've had, and I talked to a friend on our podcast episode today actually about it, is he used to say to me, "You're not the same person I married." And that used to be really hard for me to swallow that thought because I took it as a negative. And I think at the time, it wasn't intentionally said to hurt me, but it was meant as a negative. And there was a lot of fear around it because, well, if I'm changing and he's staying the same, what's going to happen to us was like the thought process behind that for him. And of course, so I would get butthurt about it. And then I would just like try to play small to keep him comfortable. But my heart would like scream at me. My soul was just like, this isn't you. You need to become you. You get to do what you want in life. And just sort of moving that direction. And it has led to other tough conversations like setting boundaries and me just telling him like, look, we're partners in this and this isn't you go to work and come home and I'm going to have your dinner in your lap for you situation. And if I'm being honest, he cooks more than I do at this point. I hate cooking. I enjoy it sometimes with a good podcast, but if I have to go grocery shopping and find the ingredients, I don't enjoy it quite as much. I grocery shop for him and then he just cooks. But anyways, that's beside the point. That was another conversation we had because he enjoys cooking. But something that's really helpful, I feel in a marriage, now I'm not a marriage therapist, I'm just gonna like give my little disclaimer here, but it's just being open and not being afraid to speak your truth and being able to say, hey, where can I help you? Where do I want you to help me? But that also comes along with knowing ourselves. And so just being in that funny space of I started to figure myself out and he just didn't know. He didn't know. He wasn't on the personal development train. And so I had to realize like we are both individuals choosing to be together, choosing to live in this house together. And how can I stop playing small for myself and protect myself and my needs from that negative energy? And so it's just this really interesting balance, like just dropping all transparency here is it's just this interesting balance, figuring it out. And then we hit a space where it's really good and there's a lot of joy. And I just feel like it's the ebbs and flows of life, right? And then we'll find ourselves in a space of like, okay, I think I'm leveling up again. And you're stretching yourself now and you're starting your personal development journey and trying to figure out who you are. Now, what do we both need? What do you need from me? What do I need from you? And being able to sit down and have that conversation and even just make sure you're still going the same direction in life. Like we've even had that conversation of, are we going in the same direction? What happens if we're not? And I think that it's okay to have that conversation because then you get to look at it both ways. You get to choose, you get to decide. And but if you continue to go along that journey and you make everything based around the kids, you never, let's just say go on date night, you never talk to each other about other things, your aspirations, what you want to accomplish in life, any of that. What if you never talk to your partner about any of that? Well, then suddenly one day you're going to find yourself with your kids moving out and you having nothing in common and you've drifted apart anyways. So it's worth it to get a little uncomfortable and have some of these tough conversations. I call them pillow talks. They usually end up being the time that my head hits the pillow, or I've kind of held some of my thoughts in for a few weeks. And then I'm like, I just have to get this out and just let you know and speak my truth. And what was interesting is we went to Hawaii this year, back in March, and I learned a lot about myself on that trip. And I learned, one, I don't do well on little sleep. I already knew that about myself. But two, I didn't stand in my power on that trip. And that was really eye-opening for me. And I kept myself in a space of, I don't want to say playing small because I wasn't really playing small, but I thought that I was going to hurt his feelings by saying, hey, you know what? Like, I want to go on a walk on the beach by myself every morning. And instead, I just held myself back from doing that, or we went together, which was fine too. But I realized on that trip, I think I need a little more time and space myself to resource myself to then be able to meet the needs of others or come together and spend time with other people. And so I'm a very extroverted person, so hanging out with other people really energizes me. But to start my day or end my day, I love that quiet time by myself, even if it's 5 minutes, I don't care. And so I just realized I didn't stand in my truth and state that need to him. But then I can't get resentful toward him for not being like, babe, why don't you go on a walk by yourself on the beach? Because he has no freaking clue. I didn't say it. So just really having those conversations with your partner, just being able to tell them what you need, and they're going to react how they're going to react. This is something that I really have had to learn, is they're going to react how they're going to react. And that's not on you. You get to stand in your truth in your relationship, and they get to stand in their truth. And even if they're not as far along on their personal development journey as you, or their self-discovery, whatever you want to call it, that's okay. That's okay, because they come along. Because now he no longer says, you're not the person I married. He understands. He sees the big vision. And he actually came to me one day last year and he said, I get it. And I said, you get what? And he says, the vision. I get the vision. I get where you're going. I get it. And so it's just interesting that if we don't continue to lead by example of standing in our own truth, then how can we be that example for them? And also, what are we teaching our kids? That's my biggest driving force, is I want to be the example for my kids of how I want them to live their life. So we get to choose how we want to live our life too. And sometimes that consists of having the hard conversations. And I will talk to you next time.